Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, April 30th meeting of the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first item on the agenda is our accounts payable docket. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next is recognizing our employee of the month for January.
2024.
We're getting caught up. Our employee of the month is Shelley Marker from IPG. In her nomination, APC Director Abby Wiles had this to say about Shelley.
Wait, she has to come up to the podium. Up to the podium, please. Photos are permissible if you want to get pictures of her up there.
Well, in her nomination, Abby had this to say about Shelley. Shelley goes above and beyond in all IPG operations. She is the admin for multiple public meetings that IPG is responsible for administering, helping to do legal notices, public notification letters, packets, and minutes. She continually aims to improve operations of the department, including developing many standard operating procedures, helping to train new staff, and coordinating overall office operations for the 11th floor of IPG. Shelley's the first face that members of the public and board members see when they come to the Area Plan Commission. She has excellent customer service skills and uses those skills in a professional and polite manner when interacting with the public. Shelley is such a pleasure to work with. I can read very well. She has such a caring and positive disposition. She is always willing to help her coworkers, whether it is to help meet a deadline or organize an office carry-in. She is a fantastic representative for IPG and the county. Shelley's worked for St. Joseph County, the Department of Infrastructure Planning and Growth, going on 3 years, as she came on staff in September of 2021. Prior to coming to the county, Shelley worked in banking and a local nonprofit. Even though she is new to public service, she jumped in with both feet. From day one, she approached her job with tenacity and professionalism, even improving on and creating her famous how-to guides for other staff to help them understand office processes and procedures. Abby and IPG Office Manager Dee Kozlowski said this, quote, "She is one of the most liked and appreciated members of the IPG team, especially for those on the 11th floor. She keeps everyone on track and goes above and beyond to ensure that the office runs smoothly. Serving as administrative staff to 3 public meetings, Area Plan, Board of Zoning Appeals, and Plat Committee is no easy feat. The job was previously shared by 2 full-time equivalents. Shelley performs her duties fully and skillfully. We could not ask for a better, more dedicated employee than Shelley." And those are really true words. On a personal note, when I first got involved more recently with the county, it was as serving on the Redevelopment Commission. And Shelley was one of the first people I met. And every word of this, as far as representing the department and the county, is so true. And it's really great that we could recognize your contributions to the county. Anybody? Now it's your turn.
Abby, do you want to say anything?
Carl said everything that I had. Just that we're so pleased to have Shelley with IPG, and she really is a fantastic representative for IPG and the county.
I'd like also, as Carl alluded to, every time on the elevator where I'm getting off, you're coming off some floor with packages and envelopes and everything. And again, thanks for everything you do. You can tell by your support from all the people that you work with are excited for this for you. But again, working in this building sometimes can be frustrating and all that, but you've always, no kidding, have managed to be smiling and having a good time, so thanks for everything y'all do.
Thank you very much. I'm very humble. Thank
And
you.
we have a lovely gift package for you. Any other employees would like to say anything?
Why don't you come on up and let's get a photograph?
Caruso, you want to come up too? What are you doing here? Well, we got to squeeze all right now. Look how big you are. Thanks, guys. Come on, we got to over here. Up in the front. What's our? I know. Come on down. I know. Almost organized, we've been all year. Well, like, I'll let you make it up.
Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
Get back to work. Zoe.
Next, Resolution R-C 3-C-2024, special purchase of real property. Not yet. Just a minute.
He jumped a little bit.
This is the one that was in there. Item C. Okay,
Trying to trick you, Carl.
it's easy to do. Bree. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it got reshuffled here in the list.
We can shuffle if you'd like.
No, no.
Bree Roberts, Director of Procurement with offices on the 7th floor of this building. So today we'll have a quick presentation regarding the Board of Commissioners initiative with the CMMS platform MaintainX. So we'll just give a quick minute for the presentation to be pulled up here. Thank you. So as I mentioned, this is a CMMS platform, so computerized maintenance management system. This is something that County Maintenance Department has not had in the past. Currently, we operate off of paper work orders, which, as you can imagine, is only so efficient. And so we're excited to be moving to this new platform and being able to realize these efficiencies that MaintainX will offer. The most important piece on this slide is that we are launching to the County City Building Complex tomorrow, May 1st. So we're going to do a staged rollout of the platform and essentially start with this complex, which includes the County City Building, the courts, as well as the law building, and then obviously additional locations to follow once we've launched those successfully. Next, please. It's all good. Thank you. So we're going to talk a little bit about the requester portal because that is the forward-facing piece that most county employees, executives will interact with. So Essentially, requesters can initiate maintenance work orders through site-specific portals. So these portal links will be sent out to your various locations on this campus tomorrow. And you just click on that link and it will take you to your site-specific portal. There's a little snippet on the screen of what that will look like. Simple and easy. Essentially, you supply the details of the item or issue at hand. You give the requester contact information in the case that we do need to contact this person for follow-up or additional details. And then you can also attach any pictures or source documentation that you may have of the issue or item that is going on. And then additionally, if they choose to receive email notifications, the system will actually automatically update the requester of the status of their request, which again is something that has not been done. Typically, this is sent through an email, a paper copy is created, maintenance executes the request and might interact with the individual at the location of the request. But this will be a really nice feature for those actually requesting these maintenance items to know in what stage of the process it's in. Next, please. Next is work order conversion and execution, just to give a little bit of an insight into the internal process that maintenance will go through when these requests are received. It's a pending request when it comes through to maintenance through the app, and then we can then approve or request additional information if there's any gaps in the original request. And then if approved, the request is converted into a work order and assigned to an employee or technician for completion. Once the technician then takes that work order and begins the duties, then they can add any needed parts, estimated timeframes, repair pictures, additional information for future reference. They can also place the work order on hold if they need to take a day and order parts. So this will show the actual work order converted into a work order that will fully live in the system. Next, please. And then we have tracking, which is a big piece of the system, obviously, because you cannot do with paper what you can with these systems. And so work orders can be tracked internally to completion through the maintenance department and then also by the requester if you have added your contact information into that initial request. Various statuses, open in progress, on hold, and completed. A big piece of tracking is preventative maintenance and compliance. So for example, those items that require monthly preventative maintenance, or for example, fire extinguishers that need to be checked on a monthly basis, we can build those into the system and then they automatically send us alerts when it's time to complete those items. They can be scheduled on a reoccurring basis based on the need for that specific work order. You can track parts and reorder points for those parts so that we can be sure we have what we need on hand. And then obviously once everything's said and done, these continue to live in the system and you'll have a full history of past work orders on our assets and preventative maintenance items for future recall. Next, please. The next big piece that's very important is the reporting aspect so that we can use the data that's being put into the system in a meaningful way to make sure that we can make process improvements and make sure that our assets are up to date and making sure that all of the maintenance items are completed and report that information to the executives. So just some key reporting features here: allows for access to key metrics, accountability obviously, time and cost overview for future planning, complete visibility into the asset lifecycle, which is again something we've not been able to track in the past. I think this will be big for capital planning. You can distinguish past work orders by type versus reactive versus repeatable, so we can make sure that those reactive work orders we're trying to in the future get ahead of, again, so that we can make improvements to our internal systems. And then work order completion rates, on time versus overdue, and that's the little snippet that's on this page. Next, please. Key benefits. These are some of the items that really helped us make this decision to go with MaintainX as a platform versus other platforms that we did look at. So it's very user-friendly. The maintenance staff will have mobile devices that they'll be able to report on these work orders and access from anywhere in the building, which is huge. We can optimize our resources, balance workloads, which includes reducing downtime and increasing productivity for our staff, because we can track what they're doing, and making sure that these work orders are being completed. Increased asset lifespan due to what I mentioned about the reoccurring preventative maintenance items, a parts inventory management, cost tracking, SOPs, managed safety and regulatory compliance, as I mentioned previously. And obviously, the main goal of this and our maintenance program is keeping equipment and facilities operational at all times. So that's what we're working towards here. One last slide. Thank you. That is it.
Well, thank you for the presentation. You know, the average person, either here in the room or online, really might not appreciate how important this is. It's just too easy when you're taking work orders, requests verbally or through emails, or just writing it on a slip of paper and turning it into facility maintenance. It's too easy things to fall through the cracks. And certainly the need to keep this building or any county facility operational is important. And by being able to track this, really is, as you said in your presentation, it's going to increase productivity, accountability, and while it may not be the sexy changes that people are expecting to see, ultimately, it is an important piece of the puzzle moving forward. I just want to, on behalf of the commissioners, I just want to thank you and John Baker for all the work you've done over the last several months to evaluate systems and ultimately recommend that we go with Maintain X. So
Absolutely.
we're excited about how this is going to impact us going forward.
Us too.
Sure, I'd like to thank Bree and John, and actually this started a long time ago with now Surveyor Krasinski was on the council. We started the deep dive into the renovation of the lobby, the new security system, and the maintenance was a big issue of what was done in the past was handwritten notes, which was, that's in the past. So all the upgrades we've done to even having, for the first time in the history of St. Joe County, like uniforms and shirts, so to identify our maintenance and housekeeping people, which never existed in the past, but just having the ability to check when somebody complains about a leak or all the issues that come with this archaic building and all the other stuff that we do. At least we have we can go back and find out when people complain, what they were complaining about, did we follow up, and so on and so forth. So this is a good system to have, and thank you and what you do, and everybody in John, housekeeping and maintenance, who you can probably see now in their great new shirts that they're walking around in and all that. But it's something that now we have accountability for what we do here, which really didn't exist much in the past, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Bree, I just want to say thank you too, because not only is this a big undertaking, you and your staff continue to do everyday jobs that you have to do, which is the fleet, housekeeping, maintenance, procurement, asset. I mean, you've taken on this and done all that, and I really appreciate it. And I think all the commissioners do, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.
Well, after running over her with Resolution R3C 2024, it is now time to consider that. That's a resolution of the St. Joseph County Board of Commissioners authorizing the special purchase of real property. Well, then I'm going to talk about this. As you know, a year and a half ago, we considered having a highway satellite maintenance facility out at Anderson Road on the property that's designated for future park. And there was quite a few questions about locating that facility on the park property. So one of the things the commissioners did is we listened to the people, and embarked on a procedure to find a better location, which I believe we have. It is in a industrially zoned property, which is one of the complaints we heard. And this will enable us to get that facility up and running and continue with the decommissioning of the Granger Road garage. So this resolution allows us to move forward with purchasing that property. Any questions, Commissioner Dieter or Commissioner
Negative.
Hazen?
Negative.
There being none, do we have a motion to approve Resolution R-3-C-2024?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the Beacon Health Ventures PHA's contract. Good morning.
Good morning. So before you is the contract with Beacon. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, but you need to state,
Courtney
Yeah.
Mullins, 7th floor.
thank you.
Contract with Beacon Health Ventures to contract to have Paragon do our PHAs. Last year, HR received a lot of complaints regarding PHAs. The big ones were the short time frame in which PHAs needed to be completed. It was over the holidays. A lot of people were traveling with their families, so to get spouses as well as our employees through the PHA process during that roughly 1 month period was not one of the most liked things that we do all year, on top of open enrollment. So we started working with Gallagher to try and find other options. We wanted to extend the option of getting PHAs throughout the entire calendar year as well, and Beacon already has a partnership with us. So they are able to accommodate, and we've already started rolling out the schedules and all of that to begin tomorrow. So this contract will save the county roughly $25,000, so it's not a ton of money, but it is a little bit of savings on compared to the other vendor that we were using. And it will also allow the employees a longer time period to be able to get their PHAs completed throughout the year.
I think you said it, but for the benefit of those listening, PHAs are personal health assessments.
Yes.
And
Sorry. So,
we tend to talk in
yeah,
acronyms too
so,
much.
so for everybody who's not a county employee, physical health assessments for our employees. Employees who choose to get this physical health assessment get a reduction in their deductible. It is optional, it is not mandatory. So, sorry for the acronyms.
No.
Anything else?
But from an employee health standpoint, we do encourage people to participate.
We do. So currently, our clinic has a 50% utilization rate amongst employees, and that is the national standard for a clinic of this type. But we would like to increase our employee utilization because employees that get, at a minimum, a yearly physical tend to catch things early. They also have the option of meeting with the community health nurse through these PHAs, which is different from what our previous vendor was allowing, or was capable of accommodating. Sorry, I shouldn't say allowing. And then anyone who has any critical labs, Dr. Henderson will be reviewing with those employees. So it does allow for a little bit of a more robust care continuum for our employees that was not able to be done with our other vendor, because our other vendor did not manage our employee health clinic. So PHAs were done by the clinic years ago, so we're just returning back to that partnership with them and extending the time frame in which employees can go and get their PHAs done.
And Courtney, this is a 1 year.
Yep, this ends December 31st of this year because we want to have the option of revisiting this and making sure that this is something that we want to continue into next year. So the go live of this is May 1st. If all goes well, then subsequent years, we will have the full 12 months for employees to be able to get their PHAs done instead of just having, the last 7 months of the year.
Any questions or comments? Well, we want to thank you for all your
Yep.
efforts on this, you and the staff.
Yep.
And glad we're able to implement this, make it more accessible to the employees, and save some money on top of it, which is
Yep.
good news.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Do we have a motion to approve the Beacon Health Ventures PHA's contract?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now, just looking in the audience, because I expected somebody else to be here.
That's
but,
all right, I can talk about it.
Resolution R-4-C 2024, authorization of assignment of tax sale certificates.
So we often end up with multiple properties that go unsold at tax sale. They revert back to the county. The county is then, well, Sky Metters is then tasked with mowing these properties so we don't get code violations from the city. They generally have little to no value, especially when they're within the city for the county. So it's more of a headache than anything. We have partnered with the city to turn over 69 properties to the city. They will take them over. They will handle all the legal work to do the deed transfers. I know the city has been looking at beautifying different parts of the city with a more thoughtful view on how they're doing it, and I believe this is part of that process that the city's going through. So it's a win-win for the city and the county. We get to get rid of properties we don't need and don't want to maintain, and they can move forward with some of their development ideas.
Does that leave us with any other properties within the city? Do we still own?
We still have some. There is the potential discussion of a land bank going on right now, where potentially some other properties that the county owns or controls would be turned over to a land bank, again, divesting us from properties that we don't need and usually end up on the rolls year after year because nobody really wants them.
And these are like, from when we looked at all that, small city lots.
Small city lots, a lot of them are vacant, most of them are vacant, and so it's just a lawn mowing nightmare for Sky.
Anything you want to add? There being no other questions or comments, do we have a motion to approve the resolution R-4-C 2024?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next, moving to IPG, we have the consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Now making his way to the podium.
Good morning, Sky Metters, Department of Infrastructure, Planning and Growth, offices on the 7th and 11th floor. Before I dive into this, I want to say thank you very much for passing Resolution R-4-C 2024, because as Mr. Mish said, it's a nightmare to keep track of all that and mowing, and I think it's a very good thing that we can pass those along to someone else where they can do something with them, so thank you for that. My highway guys will thank you also. So this item, the approval of supplemental for Douglas and Bittersweet Roundabout, is for some drainage issues. Our original concept was to take the water to a regulated drain for all the drainage from the roundabout to the drain, but once we got into it, we realized that the drain really didn't have the capacity to handle that additional flow. So we then regrouped and decided that we would put in a detention basin. And so this cost covers the soils testing and the additional design and plan development that is necessary for that revision to the drainage. We've reviewed this and recommend your approval.
I think it's better that it go to a detention basin anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we're making this change.
Yeah.
Sky, what's the cost of that?
The cost of that change is $65,800.
Any questions or comments? If not, do we have a motion to approve the supplemental agreement for Douglas and Bittersweet Roundabout?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sky, the next item is our grant of a permanent easement to the city municipal utilities at Granger Garage.
Yes, what we have here is the city has requested, Mishawaka has requested an easement along the eastern edge of the Granger Garage property, a 30-foot easement starting to the south and heading north, and then at the very north, it would go to 100 foot for about 80 feet. It's for utilities. There's some monitoring wells that they're going to replace as part of this easement, remove and replace. And with the project that we have coming up, bids are due in a couple weeks for the demo of that property. And the future plans for that property, this easement fits in very well. And we've reviewed this and recommend your approval.
Any questions? If not, do we have a motion to grant the permanent easement to the City of Mishawaka Municipal Utilities at the Granger Garage?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Next is approval of the KM Property Maintenance Contract.
Abby Wiles, APC Director, IPG 11th floor. Before you is a non-towing abatement services agreement with KM Property Maintenance. We currently have 4 contractors under contract with us for mowing and cleanups for the code enforcement program. We would like to add KM Property Maintenance, particularly because this contractor has equipment that would allow him to take on some of our larger cleanups, medium and larger size cleanups that are a real need. Our bench of contractors does a really nice job with small and some of the medium jobs, size jobs, but we'd like to add KM to help us with some of the larger jobs that we have in the county for cleanup. So asking for your approval of the contract to add him to the bench of contractors for code enforcement services.
How many cleanups are we doing a month?
It varies depending on the season.
Estimate.
I'd say at the height, of the enforcement season over the summertime, we'll do probably 6. But during the winter months, we might only do a couple a month. It really depends.
So roughly 40-something a year?
Yeah, I think the first year that we were operational, we did approximately 30 cleanups, and then a few more in last year. So in 2022, when we started, we did about 30, and then a few more than that in 2023.
And the cleanups, this is when somebody is not compliant to all the paperwork you go through to tell them to clean their stuff up, then we go out and do it.
Correct. We follow the ordinance with a hang tag, violation notices, then we bid it with one of our contractors, authorize them to proceed with the work order, and then invoice them afterwards. After they don't pay, then we place a special assessment on the property.
Okay, how many people have not paid if we cleaned up after they,
90+%.
Okay.
We've only had a handful.
okay. Right, thank you.
I just want to add how good, we don't get any complaints on this, really. And this is something that was started by Commissioner Dieter, working with you to get code. And then Councilman, now Surveyor Krasinski. But it's something that has been, in my opinion, working very well. And this doesn't change the budgeted amount. It just adds another vendor to the, as you said, bench of contractors that you can call on to do these projects.
Correct. You would think that we'd have contractors banging down our door wanting to partner with us to do code enforcement cleanups, but that has not been the case. Over the last 2 years, the program has been operational. It's challenging to find a contractor that is willing to work with us. We have our core group that do, like I said, small and medium-sized cleanups, but adding KM Property Maintenance would allow us to take on some of the medium and larger size jobs that we have.
And that's, well, not in addition, that Sky's people have to go up and pick up tons and tons of stuff that gets dumped, trash, and another plan is us to kind of come up with a better way to go enforce people who throw junk and crap out of their cars all day, that his people get tied up picking up thousands of pounds in just in that, let alone, it's not our jurisdiction in the city, but it's just disgusting of all the crap that goes out in this community of people throwing stuff out of their car, so. Thanks again.
If there are no other questions or comments, do we have approval of the KM property maintenance contract?
So moved.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Moving on to the Health Department, support of the Health First St. Joseph County Community Grant Awards.
Jenna Rose, Department of Health, 8th and 9th floor. We're asking for support of one of our 19 Health First St. Joseph County Health First Indiana grant awardees, Beacon Health System. Beacon Health System will be providing take-home remote patient monitoring devices for blood pressure monitoring in order to support hypertension care coordination for high-risk mothers in St. Joseph County. Through this, they will be promoting women's health services as well as encouraging community-based maternal and infant care.
And how many people will this affect if it's approved?
I think that they're estimating around 100 people.
Well, we certainly know how important maternal health is and appreciate how the dollars from Health First Indiana are being allocated. Any other questions or comments? If not, do we have approval to support the Health First St. Joseph County Community Grant Award to the Beacon Health System for community impact?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Next item is from the recorder. However, our recorder has asked that we pull this. This particular agreement is not needed right now. So do we have a motion to remove this from the consent agenda, or remove the consent agenda?
So moved.
You made a motion?
Tony, let's do it. I'll second whatever Tony just said.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote? Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And I should have, before we went on to recorder, I should have noted that we have a new employee in the health department, and I've asked Dr. Proshutham to introduce him to us.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. Again, I'm Dr. Purushottam. I'm the health officer with offices in the 8th and 9th floor, law building, 2nd and 3rd floor, and a Mishawaka location. We just wanted to welcome Mr. Mike Rubel, who will be the Director of Operations for the Health Department. In addition to providing us administrative support, he will be building 2 new service lines to the Health Department. The first is a volunteer program. There have been an outpouring of support with excellent members of our community willing to volunteer their service and knowledge to the health department. Mike Rubel will be able to help align those volunteers with the programs that the health department is building. In addition, he will be responsible for allowing us to create an educational pathway where learners in our community can partner with the health department to learn about public health and improve the health of our community. So we're all very excited to have Mike on board, and thank you for the opportunity to introduce him.
Thank you. My name is Mike Rubel with County Health Department on the 8th floor. Thank you for having me.
On behalf of the commissioners, we're glad to have you on board and continue to build and support our health department as they work on public health throughout the county.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Moving on to public comments.
Got Cheryl Nix. She knew she was first.
I did. Good morning, Cheryl Nix, Clay Township. I want to start by saying today is my birthday.
Happy
And
birthday.
so today I can honestly say that I have been a resident of St. Joseph County my entire life, so that would be 70 years. 70 years old today. Okay, so because it is my birthday, I have some birthday wishes. First, I would ask that everybody go vote. I know it's a primary, but this is your chance to decide who's going to represent you in the fall. So pick your party and go vote. Next, last week, I complained about the rescinding of a particular resolution, but had a great discussion with Mr. Baxmeyer as I was leaving, and he had a great idea that perhaps the agenda could include the call for applications for board appointments, because you never know, a 70-year veteran of St. Joe County might be interested. The third thing I'd like to say is I hope we have more county city building public discussions about what to do with this building, especially after spending $400,000 on a lobby renovation, $1 million for the boiler. It looks like DLZ is recommending that perhaps you stay and just fix a couple floors at a time, but I think public input would be very welcomed, and I know I would appreciate an opportunity to weigh in. And my last request is that you revisit the contract that you have for private security at Portage Manor. I read a report that said between July and December, you'd spent almost $390,000 guarding the vacant building. I understood that because it was filled with valuable items. But as I understand it, the auction's coming to a close, so I think it might be time to end that private security, maybe set up just an alarm system for about 10 grand, because my estimate is that we're running over 800,000 at this point. So there it is, my birthday wishes. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
We got Mike up next.
Happy birthday, Cheryl. Mike McManus, 51940 Lilac Road. On November 14th of last year, you appointed 3 people to the newly formed Redevelopment Authority. I sued you because of that, because the resolution that you had passed a couple of years prior to that at Mr. Dieter's insistence required that you take applications and interview applicants, among other things. You didn't interview any of these people. No disrespect to them on a personal level. None of them were qualified for the job. One was an esthetician, one was a personnel recruiter, and the other is a businesswoman who owns cell towers. So I sued you because you didn't follow your own rules. The suit was moving along, and then because of things not related to the actual subject matter there, it's a long story, and I'm not going to bore you with that, but you, the council, came to me and asked if we could have settlement discussions to resolve the lawsuit, because the lawsuit was blocking something that was very important to the citizens of St. Joe County and had to do with large bond deals. I sat down, I consulted with experts, I consulted with my own experts, and I had 2 choices: to continue trying to get you to do your duty and follow the rules, or interfere with something that the county council had unanimously voted for that was very important to the citizens of St. Joseph County. I chose to hope that you would do the honorable thing and chose to settle with you. That settlement that you asked for resulted in a complete redo of the appointment to the Redevelopment Authority. New resumes were taken, interviews were actually held, and at least one qualified person, Mr. Dan Caruso, who's in the audience today, was selected on that board. Last week, you took away your own resolution. And you made the curious observation that, well, the resolution is just preserving what we already do, so there's no need for it. And that my case had been dismissed. And the impression you intended to leave with people was that a judge had looked at it, decided I was wrong on the merits of the case, and had dismissed the case. That was wrong. That was so misleading as to be dishonest.
Your 3 minutes are up, Mike. Thank you.
And the county code, you might want to read this, Mr. Mish, The
you,
county
Mike.
code, I know,
Mr.
Mike, and
Francis
it
is
wasn't
up
my
next.
3 minutes, but I'm going to read one more thing from the county code, just so everybody
I
knows.
apologize, Steve. You're up next.
I apologize to anyone for wanting to hear the truth about the dishonesty in county government. Law denotes
Mr.
applicable
McManus,
federal
your
law,
time is up.
the Constitution and statutes of Indiana,
You are, of course, welcome to make a motion
The
to recess, and
ordinances-
we can end the meeting.
and resolutions of the county.
I mean, yeah, but
Thank you very much, gentlemen. And Mr. Hazen, it's not, that's the only time anybody was ever interviewed for 2 years. So you're not,
Mike,
I
your
know you're new.
interpretation of the facts,
It's
you
not
need to go
your-
sit down.
it's not your
Thank you.
understanding. You may be under the misguided understanding that this is,
Motion to recess.
that this has been happened.
I'll second it.
Wait, hold on.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
He's leaving. Can I speak, please? Yeah.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
You were signed up.
Yes. Mhm.
Let's
Okay.
move off.
Okay. Yeah, Steve Francis, Judy Lake Drive, Clay Township. Yeah, I want to speak to that action last week as well. I looked at the agenda. I did not notice what the resolution was that you were adopting and what you were withdrawing. There was no information in the packet. There was no copy of the earlier resolution. It's my bad. I didn't go back to the code book and look it up. I would have spoken last week, but I do want to speak today on the broader public policy implications of it. Number one, I think it's in your interest, frankly, to reconsider this, that in fact, if you want to have open government and transparency, as you've repeatedly stated, and Commissioner Baxmeyer, you're my commissioner, you've told me that personally, you've stated it publicly, then I think that this behooves you to do so. The prospect of having to solicit applications, get, statements of intent, get resumes, and then to interview, however briefly you want to do that, is part of the process of open government. It allows the public to see, to pry open what's going on. These are important commissions and boards. Some of them have broad powers that you can't overrule, that they make decisions upon millions of dollars of county monies that are being spent in TIF districts and elsewhere. And I think that to rescind it in the way that you did is outrageous. I mean, there was no real notification, and I did talk to you the week before, and you didn't mention it to me. You mentioned that you were going to allow testimony at the time, is ill-fated. I mean, you're going to now subject yourself to criticism throughout the process when you don't follow those kinds of open government procedures. I urge you to reconsider it. I think that those who are considering running for office, I urge them to come out in support of it because it is an expression of the intent of the commissioners to allow the public in. We have many commissions in which they're barely able to make a quorum, and I would argue because we don't have a process that professionalizes the commission appointments, that makes it apparent to those members that they are being respected and honored in terms of their time commitment. And I truly urge that you reconsider it, alter it if you need to. I mean, you can always choose who you want. But I have seen many times these commissions, which by the way oversee departments independent of the commissioners, oversee department decisions, are often, the list is given by the department personnel to you to appoint. And I think that that violates to some extent some of the independence that commissions should exercise in their oversight of county government. So I urge you to reconsider, to reinstate it, perhaps with some revisions,
Your 3
and then
minutes are
to
up. Thanks,
open to
Steve.
the public. Thank you.
Misty? You're going to have to help me with your last name, I'm sorry. You got to stay it for the record anyway in your address. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Misty Sorsovich with the St. Joseph County Soil and Water Conservation District. I believe some of you are familiar with the district already. but just in case, our primary goal is to educate county residents about the importance of protecting our natural resources, in particular soil and water, mainly through teaching about agricultural practices. We do urban as well as rural practices. Earlier this year, we started a campaign to educate about one of the particular practices, cover crops. We place signs, I don't know if any of you have seen our signs, placed along different agricultural fields where farmers we know have planted cover crops. As part of this campaign, we are holding a Meet Your Farmer Night. We are inviting the community to one of our longtime farmers' properties for dinner, to introduce them to the idea of cover crops, talk to them about what they can do in their backyards as far as conservation practices, and why we should all be concerned about soil and water. And so I'm just here to personally invite you guys to our dinner that night. It'll be in June, and I have a little information about what the district did last year with our partnerships, as well as an invitation.
Thank you.
Would you like these?
We will make sure that we get those. Thank you.
Dan, you're up.
Morning, Dan Caruso, 305 Compton Street, New Carlisle. I too want to touch on something the commissioners did last week you tweaked the way the meeting was run, where normally there was no public comment during the meeting on items unless you felt necessary there should be some public input on an item. Carl, you would pause the meeting and say, okay, let's talk about this. I liked the way that was done last week, where an item came up, people had signed up saying, I'd like to speak about that, and as the item came up, then the people who wanted to speak on it were called to the podium. I think, however, it's some more tweaking. The order needs to be reversed. The commissioners need to say why they want the change or why they don't want the change, and then the person who is there to address that issue can get up and speak in an educated manner on what the commissioner's position is. Because right then they're just getting up and speaking, and then, as happened last week, Commissioner Hazen said, well, here's what we're doing, and this is the way it should be, end of discussion. I think the commissioners should speak first, and then people speak, during the meeting, people speaking either for it or against it can then answer based on what the commission believes. Secondly, I talked with Sky, talked with my councilman Thomas about the truck signs posted out there, and they were going to make more signs, but it was truly an enforcement issue. Case in point, Timothy Road and State Road 2. I was coming home yesterday morning from some errands. They've been working on that intersection. You couldn't come off Timothy headed south and turn to go to South Bend to the east. It was blocked off. Been like that for a couple of weeks now. I'm coming home, and here comes a big truck making a left-hand turn off of 2 coming from the west, right past a truck restriction sign. So I turn, because I'm going down Timothy, and I follow him. I know exactly where he's going. He goes down to Early, makes another turn on the east on Early Road, another truck restricted road. At this point, I really know where he's going. So I go around the back way, and I meet him as he's going into the Amazon site. I don't know what other enforcement issues we can do. I was tempted to go onto the site and say, can you tell this guy not to use truck restricted roads? One of the possible remedies for this, or I don't know, if the driver isn't going to be held responsible, how about the person who's accepting the load from the driver saying, this load just came on a truck restricted road, here's your fine.
Your 3 minutes are up. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Bye.
We have Jessica Logan online.
Hello, Commissioners. Jessica Logan, 51710 Creekside Drive, Granger. You Commissioners complained that you were sued for not following your own resolution. I submit to you that the best way to avoid being sued is to follow the law. I also understand that Mish pointed out that the resolutions are not laws. And I wondered if that does mean that the county's rules are optional to be followed. Thank you.
That's all we have.
With that, let's go back to our motion to recess.
Commissioner Hazen, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Dieter, how do you vote?
Aye.
Commissioner Baxmeyer, how do you vote?
Aye. Thank you.